What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean O'Malley disrespects Ilia Topuria. Since last summer, Sean O'Malley and Ilia Topuria have continued to take shots at one another, despite the fact that a bout between the two is unlikely to happen in the near future. During a recent episode of the Timbo Sugar Show, O'Malley took aim at El Matador, predicting that his reign atop the 145-pound division will play out just like Cody Garbrandt's reign at bantamweight, which ended abruptly after winning the title in a sensational performance against Dominic Cruz. O'Malley then switched gears, giving his honest take on the featherweight champ while making it clear that despite having respect for Topuria, he still isn't a fan.
Ilia, I tweeted, how the fuck is Ilia above me on the pound for pound? He's 5 inches shorter and has less title defenses. Those are just facts. Those are, I wasn't trying to be funny. I was stating facts. And I got a lot of hate for it. And they're like, bro, he should be. He beat Volk. Like, buddy, I really give a f. That's where I'm at on the pound for pound. Ilia's is gonna be the next Cody Garbrandt. He won his nice little fight. He had his little Dominic Cruz performance. He's about to get pieced up by Max Holloway and then go downhill from there. Not really. I feel like Ilia is one of the most skilled guys actually in the UFC, but Ilia.
Ironically, both Topuria and O'Malley are in a similar position, with both fighters waiting for the UFC to finalize their next bouts. In Sugar Sean's case, he's expected to defend the title against Merab later this year. In the case of Topuria, he's likely to make his first title defense against Max Holloway. Next up, let's take a look at Leon Edwards talks about Islam Makhachev fight. Islam Makhachev has made it clear over the past year that his plan is to eventually move up to welterweight in pursuit of champ status. While Makhachev will first look to defend his title again later this year, it sounds as though Leon Edwards is already on board for a potential fight. During a recent interview with TalkSport, Edwards revealed that although his focus is on defending his title at UFC 304, he's eyeing a clash of champions with Islam Makhachev and a move to middleweight down the line.
So, like I said, only thing you get for achieving another goal is another goal, and that's all it is to me, you know.
Islam Makhachev, he said he wants to go up and fight for the belt. Would you welcome a challenge like that in terms of facing Islam?
For sure. I feel like obviously we've got work to do within the division. I feel like Islam just fought the first actual lightweight. He fought Volk, but this is the first actual lightweight he's fought within the division, you know. He's on a 3 defense streak. After I beat Bilal, that'll be my 3rd as well. So we're both on similar paths. So I can see that happening in the future. Also, I'd like to move up as well and challenge for middleweight belt as well, you know, hopefully. And so whoever comes first.
Ahead of the Edwards-Muhammad fight at UFC 304, Dominance MMA's Ali Abdelaziz, who manages Bilal Muhammad, shared his prediction for the fight, writing, "Bilal Muhammad will stop Leon Edwards under 3 rounds. Bilal Muhammad responded to the post, writing, "Soon they find out." With Edwards eyeing a title defense against Islam Makhachev and a move up in weight down the line, it's safe to say that the stakes couldn't be higher for the champion heading into UFC 304, as he looks to settle any unfinished business with Bilal Muhammad. Next up, let's take a look at Sean Strickland sends a message to UFC. In the wake of his win over Paulo Costa, Sean Strickland has revealed that he plans on sitting out and waiting for a crack at the winner of the upcoming UFC 305 clash between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. Given that he lost a narrow decision to DDP, with many, including Dana White, scoring the bout in his favor, Strickland believes that after his victory at UFC 302, he should get to fight the winner of the DDP Adesanya fight. In a recent post, Strickland dismissed a potential #1 contender bout with Robert Whittaker, calling out Whittaker's combined 0-3 record against du Plessis and Adesanya. Making the case against a #1 contender fight with Whittaker, Strickland wrote, "The thought that Whittaker gets a title shot before me is effing wild. Bro, you're 0-3. With the stoppage, lol. I beat both those C words, lol. Do rankings matter? Do the right thing, UFC." The MMA community was quick to react, with one fan writing, "As much as I love Bobby, Sean is right. He never lost a title fight." Another wrote, "The fact they didn't give you a rematch after the Dracus fight is wild in itself. Then you did the UFC a favor and fought Costa and won. Whittaker gets knocked out by Dracus and beat an unranked opponent and somehow is in title shot talks?" One fan suggested that Strickland may not have done himself any favors leading up to his clash with DDP, writing, "You got robbed and now they're trying to keep you away. Act like you care about the belt this time. It's bad for marketing when you run around talking about how much you didn't care about it." Another suggested that Strickland's refusal to fight Whittaker may lose him some fans, writing, "One way to settle it if you two fight. You're losing your fans with this attitude." Another member of the MMA community alleged that Strickland's fighting style may be to blame, writing, "But your last fight was boring. You played defense and didn't take any chances. The UFC doesn't want to see that ish again." One outspoken critic of Strickland's wrote, "You effing suck. You're boring as ish. Talk all that ish before a fight just to put everyone to sleep. At least Whittaker is out here either beating the ish out of people or going out on his shield. given that a #1 contender fight seems to make sense, it'll be interesting to see how the UFC handles this standoff. Next, let's take a look at Michael Chandler sends a warning to Conor McGregor. Since the cancellation of Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor's UFC 303 fight, there's been little word from the promotion regarding a rescheduled date. From the sounds of things, Chandler is planning to sit out and wait for a new date. However, according to Dana White, McGregor won't be returning in the months to come. During a recent Q&A with fans, Chandler was asked about his strategy when preparing to fight someone like McGregor. In response, he issued a warning to McGregor, writing, "Instill fear, let him pull out of the fight and embarrass himself. Be known as the guy who retired McGregor without ever throwing a punch." In response to a fan who alleged that McGregor would never fight again, Chandler then wrote, "The new Where's Waldo? The Mac Daddy had a great run though." Chandler also teased the fight headlining the Noche UFC card on September 14th, reposting a promo video along with a caption that simply read, "Loading." In the event that a fight with McGregor does not come to fruition for the UFC 306 card, Chandler has a plan. In response to another member of the MMA community who suggested a McGregor-Diaz trilogy fight at UFC 306, Chandler wrote, "Sit down, Ron. Better idea. Me and Nate Diaz fight like real men, while Conor sits on a yacht and watches a pay-per-view in his slippers." Of course, in order for the bout to become a possibility, Nate Diaz would have to re-sign with the UFC. Next, let's take a look at Alex Pereira fires back at rival. While Alex Pereira has been on a tear since joining the UFC, former opponent Artem Vakitov believes that the light heavyweight champ's striking is one-dimensional. While speaking in a recent interview with MMA Fighting, Vakitov alleged that Pereira leaves too many openings, using his second fight with Israel Adesanya inside the octagon as an example of how a talented striker can capitalize on the holes in Pereira's game. The light heavyweight champion has since fired back on Instagram, calling out Vakitov for his comments while alleging that the only reason Vakitov was given the win in their second fight was because the promotion didn't want him leaving as champion. In response to Vakitov, Pereira wrote, "Hey brother, be careful with the people that are giving you this idea. The same person that is advising you that has tried the same to me and I didn't do because I'm not stupid. Everybody knows that when they gave you the win, it's because Glory knew that that would be my last fight in the organization and they didn't want me to leave with the belt. For you to expose yourself like this, it seems that you're a bit lost and almost certainly don't have a manager. That's what I think. You should send a message to Joinha, Jorge Guimarães, because I think he can help you. Shama." Since his win over Pereira in 2023, Vakitov has made the jump to MMA himself, going 3-1 as a pro and 2-0 so far this year as an MMA fighter, meaning a trilogy fight between these two could be a possibility down the line. Next, let's take a look at Joe Rogan fires shots at Dana White and the UFC. Although Joe Rogan has been with the UFC for years now, he doesn't shy away from criticizing the promotion when he deems it necessary. Recently, during an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the commentator was joined by MMA legend Quentin Rampage Jackson. During the podcast, the former UFC champ stated that he's tried to get tickets to attend the UFC event, but hasn't had any luck. Joe Rogan then chimed in, telling Rampage that he would hook him up with tickets before then criticizing the UFC for not giving former champions free tickets.
Wait, I be trying to ask Tiki to get me tickets sometimes to, help me out.
Bro, I got you.
You got me?
I got you for that. Let's go.
Let's go.
Come on, Rampage. You gotta be there for that.
I would love to be there for that.
Yeah, man. You gotta be there for
Yeah,
that. The UFC doesn't hook you up with tickets?
No,
That's ridiculous. You're a former champion. You should get tickets for the rest of your life. If I was running the UFC, no offense to the people that are champions, you get tickets forever.
You know what? I
forever.
As Rampage went on to explain, he ruined his relationship with the UFC back in the day by choosing to film the A-Team rather than fighting Rashad Evans. The way he sees things, Dana White has never forgiven him. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Tom Aspinall can force UFC to make Jon Jones fight? While a bout between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic has not been formally announced by the UFC, all signs have pointed to the pair competing inside the octagon for Jones's next fight. Despite that, Daniel Cormier believes that Tom Aspinall has an opportunity to make his case for a title unification bout undeniable when he steps into the octagon to fight Curtis Blades at UFC 304. Speaking in a recent video for his YouTube channel, Cormier explained that a dominant win for Aspinall could force the UFC to book a title unification bout.
Dude, could you imagine if Tom Aspinall just washes out Curtis Blades? Then the firestorm that would start to gather for him to fight Jones? Or Curtis Blades just demolishes Tom Aspinall? It would be crazy. Here's the difference though. For there to truly be an uprising, it would have to be Aspinall destroying Blades.
Of course, Jones and the UFC have both made it clear that the odds of a Jones-Aspinall fight are incredibly slim, with Dana White stating repeatedly that he and the UFC have no plans to deviate from the Jones-Miocic fight. Despite that, there's still a possibility that Jones decides to stick around for a title unification fight against Aspinall, depending on how things play out against Stipe Miocic. Joe Rogan sends a warning to Alex Pereira after his win over Jiri Prochazka at UFC 303. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan and Rampage Jackson talked about Alex Pereira's win over Jiri. And while both were impressed with the knockout, Joe pointed out flaws that Poatan needs to correct before his next fight. Here's what Rogan had to say.
Did you watch the light heavyweight title fight this weekend?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God. Boatan, man. Alex Pereira. That fucking power's nuts.
You know what? I was thinking, like, how would have done if I was in my prime fighting somebody like that.
You were always a very strong light heavyweight, and you had very good wrestling skills. You know, he hasn't really fought anybody that's an elite wrestler yet. You know, I mean, think about who has he fought that could really wrestle. Prochazka is like he's got crazy KO power. He's got good karate skills, and he did win by choking out Glover. He did win with a choke. So it's not like he doesn't have skills, but he's not some Daniel Cormier type dude. He's just an elite wrestler. But the problem is Pereira is cleaned out the division. There's only Ankalaev, who's very good. That's a good fight, but a lot of people don't know who he is. It's not like a big name fight.
Top comments. I like how you report Bobby Green has changed his name, then refer to him as Bobby Green. You can see that MFer was scared when he made that video. Hamzat lost the little respect MMA fans had left for him. Usman just mad Nate making more out of the UFC than he did as UFC champ. Hamzat will never be able to have children to carry on his legacy,